Thank you, David. 96 hours after the massacre at McMahon, time for the Labor Day rematch as the Eskimos try to make amends against the high-riding Stampeders. Intermittent showers in the forecast, had a little downpour just about 15 minutes or so. It's the first ever Calgary-Edmonton clash on the field turf at Commonwealth.
Joffrey Reynolds 51 yards away from becoming the Stampeders' all-time leading rusher and passing Kelvin Anderson. And when you look at the Edmonton Eskimos backfield, there will be a change tonight because Archie Whitlock is out what looks like for the rest of the season. Brad Lester will start at tailback out of Auburn.
Well, Richie Hall said a high school team might have beaten his club on Monday, but his team has won 2 straight at home. And John Huffnagel says it's business as usual. Despite 2 lopsided wins over Edmonton, he says his Stamps have to treat it just like any other game in the regular season.
Tristan Jackson is back as a return man for the Edmonton Eskimos. Maybe Jackson can give this Edmonton team a little bit of spark and some good field position in this one tonight. Remember, the 2 lopsided losses against Calgary were in Calgary.
Here we go. And the explosive Tristan Jackson's got it. And a good return for Jackson up around the 40-yard line to set things up. Decent field position for Ricky Ray to start as he leads an offense out onto the field that generated only 152 yards on Monday.
Yeah, and just 5 yards rushing. Maybe Brad Lester out of Auburn, 5'11", 197, can be a difference maker. They also go with Marco Mitchell at receiver, that 5th receiver spot. There's the regular receiving core, just like the Labor Day game. And then an offensive line with 2 changes. Greg White at right tackle moves Jeremy Parquet to left tackle.
Calvin Armstrong released after the game on Monday. Ricky Ray play action. He wants to go deep to start things off. Wants Marco Mitchell incomplete, working against Brandon Browner.
The #1 defense in the Canadian Football League. You look at this front 7. Charleston Hughes came back last week, had 1 sack in his return on Labor Day Monday. There's the linebacking core led by Juwan Simpson in the middle. The rest of that front 7. And when you go back to the secondary, 2 interceptions for Brandon Smith. 1 went back for a touchdown on Labor Day.
Starting lineups are brought to you by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, doing it right. 2nd and 10, 3-man rush. Ray steps up. And he's going to have to eat the football up at the 45. So 4 for Ray and a 2-and-out to open for the Eskimos.
That's what the Eskimos will be looking for, and the difference between this game and last is protection up front for Ricky Ray. Now on that last play, he just had 3-man pressure, so he tried to get out of that pocket and see if he could not run for the first down. Was short. Well short. The Eskimos will have to punt, but we'll see if the offensive line can have a better game here tonight.
So Prefontaine to kick it. And there's Dion Murphy. And Murphy takes it at his 26-yard line. Escapes Weldon Brown. Kicks it outside. And it'll be dragged down by Graham Bell, and that will draw a flag. Graham Bell returning to the Eskimo lineup. 1 of 7 Edmonton changes from Labor Day Monday.
Well, the penalty flag came out right on the tackle by Graham Bell. And I'm wondering if it's going to be called the horse collar.
Unnecessary roughness. Horse tackle. Edmonton number 24. 15-yard penalty. First down.
The horse collar tackle, and that's what it was. Watch, that hand's okay on the shoulder pad. It's the right hand comes around and gets Dion Murphy from behind. Penalties an issue Labor Day. I was going to say last week, but it's not been a week.
Probably feels like a month for some of those Eskimos.
10 seconds.
And here's Joffrey Reynolds eating into Kelvin Anderson's totals as he pounds it up to midfield. And Reynolds 9 on his opening carry of the game.
There is Joffrey Reynolds. If he stays healthy in this one, will pass Kelvin Anderson and become the all-time leader in Stampeder history. There's the receiving core. Not sure collectively if it gets any better than that, and thought we'd highlight Dan Comiskey, the 13-year veteran that's anchored down that left guard spot.
Couple of break ups with Edmonton. Second and short, back in the hands of Reynolds. He's got a first down and then gets drilled by Rod Davis. Leaks forward progress appeared to be enough for the first down.
You know, there's been one highlight in this defensive front seven for the Edmonton Eskimos all year, and it's been the play of linebacker TJ Hill. Back-to-back games now. He's led the team in tackles, including 9 on Labor Day Monday. He's doing his thing. It's not been his fault that this team has struggled, and they'll make a change in the secondary and bump Lawrence Gordon out to corner and play former Montreal Alouette Randy Drew at halfback.
And Jason Goss out of the lineup. Was a first down. Reynolds has 11, and it's 1st and 10. As Burris has a wide open R.J. Franklin in the flat, and Franklin dropped at the 16-yard line. Big gain as the Stamps are starting quick again.
Jabari Arthur is going to run the seam, and it's going to be 3 straight go routes on that side of the field for the Calgary Stampeders. And when I say the go routes, you really put the corner in a bind. One go route there, one here by Jabari Arthur, and then the third one on the outside from R.J. Franklin. And watch Roderick Williams get caught in between. Does he take the inside one, or does he stay on the field on the outside? He's wrong either way.
Longest gain of the year for Franklin, 32 yards. Burris on a roll. Looking into the corner, it's incomplete as he tried to hook up with R.J. Franklin once again.
Lots of firsts against this Edmonton team for R.J. Franklin. When he was a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Franklin had his first catch back in 2006 in the CFL. Also had his first touchdown against the Edmonton Eskimos in 2008, and that's his longest of the season.
So 2nd and 10 for the Calgary offense, over 500 yards in their first 2 starts of the season against the Eskimos. There's trying to find an open man under pressure. Petley makes him throw it away. So the Eskimos defense is able to force Henry Burris and the offense off the field. There is a flag here late.
There was no receiver.
I mentioned the TJ Hill has played well in the defensive front seven for the Edmonton Eskimos. Their secondary has not been that bad either this year. Ranked 2nd coming in, and that time that was a coverage issue for Henry Burris. He didn't have an open receiver.
There is no infraction on the play. There was a receiver close by. 3rd down.
So the field goal unit comes on for John Hufnagel. And the only issue for Calgary coming out of Labor Day was Rob Mavert, the fine rookie kicker, with his first lull in the season, as he missed a couple and has 4 of his last 8 as he attempts this from 23 yards out. And the Brampton native puts that through to give Calgary the early lead. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, doing it right. So a 23-yard field goal for Rob Maver, a 3-0 Calgary lead, and Tristan Jackson gets back to return another kickoff. From his 15, and he is met and drilled. Great downfield cover. Mark Caliste, the veteran, along with Malik Jackson.
Well, pressure on the offensive coordinator for the Edmonton Eskimos, Kevin Strasser, who's going to have to now find a way to get some protection for his quarterback, first and foremost, and introduce a brand new running back to the mix, because when you look at Labor Day Monday, 5 yards rushing, just 12 completions, 11 first downs in the entire game. Calgary Stampeders had the ball for 17 minutes, 34 seconds more than the Edmonton Eskimos had it.
10 2-and-outs. They started with a 2-and-out, and here's Brad Lester's first carry for the Edmonton Eskimos. Up to the 30-yard line. A couple for Lester, who spent a couple of weeks in the BC Lions camp last year.
Power runner said he'd prefer to run over a tackler rather than around him. Very different style than Archie Whitlock, who may be gone for the rest of the season.
So Lester is a newcomer to the offense, and Calvin McCarty returns. That's good news. He's missed 3 with a broken finger, and McCarty is the lone back on 2nd and 7. And Ray has Andre Talbot, who curled back and will be dropped close to the first down by Brandon Smith. Talbot did not have a ball thrown in his direction on Monday.
Well, here's a good sign in a couple of ways for the Edmonton Eskimos. Lots of movement from the front 7 of the Calgary Stampeders, and yet they're able to pick up the different stunts and movement. You can see guys just shifting around. Well picked up by the O-line. A throwing lane available to Ricky Ray, and he gets it to a receiver, as you mentioned, Chris, he didn't find at all on Monday.
So they get 9 yards and a first down. The Eskimos only had 29 yards on 2nd down last week. Kelly Campbell's got it. And he's taken down by Brandon Smith, but Campbell has another Edmonton Eskimo first down.
Again, blitz coming from Calgary on first down, and Ricky Ray has to get this ball out of there in a hurry, and he has to, the timing of it to Kelly Campbell has got to be on the money, because if this throw is off to the wide side, that's the type of throw that goes the other way. But the timing was there. Kelly Campbell makes a secure catch.
11 for Campbell, who did not finish the game on Monday, hobbling off with an ankle problem. Low shotgun snap, scooped up by Ray, delivered high, and incomplete to the newcomer Marco Mitchell. Well, Ricky Ray has always been known for a high completion percentage. Look back, and it was 92 consecutive games over 50% until August the 15th, and in 2 of his last 3 starts, both against Calgary, he's been under 50%.
Yeah, 46 times over 70, which is quite incredible. And that has just dropped out of the bucket last games against the Stampeder defense.
At 50% early in the game at 2 for 4. Looking at 2nd and 10. Nobody open on the first read, and now he's got a target. Jason Barnes can't make the catch.
He was hit hard by Milt Collins, and the timing perfect, and Milt Collins basically tackled the football there. First of all, Ricky Ray has time because it's 3-man pressure, and this is his awareness as Ricky Ray moves around, moves his feet, buys time, and extends the play.
Ruling on the field is a catch.
Well, they're going to call that a catch.
Recovered by Edmonton. It will be first down Edmonton.
I would expect to see a challenge from the Stampeders.
They're going to try and run a quick play here.
And here comes the flag before they can line up.
I think we will get a challenge, and yeah, the flag is out. And now you got to be careful with these type of replays when you slow down and put it into slow motion. But the key here, does Jason Barnes have the ball secured when his feet hit the ground?
Calgary is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass. The play will be reviewed.
Okay, let's slow it down first of all. We'll show it to you in slow motion first. Ricky Ray to Jason Barnes. Now he's got both hands on it. Secured there, has not even had his feet touch the ground, and the ball's out. You have to survive contact. Here's regular speed. You have to survive contact either with the player or the ground and maintain possession, and I don't think Jason Barnes did.
An alert play by Calvin McCarty to get on the football just in case, but I don't think there's much question what the verdict's going to be on this one. Milton Collins with the hit.
Yeah, he put his helmet, it looked like right on the rib cage and that left elbow.
Upon review, the receiver did not survive contact with the ground. Therefore, it is an incomplete pass. It will be third down, Edmonton. The ball will be placed at the Edmonton 51-yard line. Third down.
Well, you could see the Edmonton Eskimos hustling to the line of scrimmage to try and get a snap.
Good job.
Before John Hufnagel got a chance to throw the challenge flag, but clearly that was incomplete.
Wipes out an 18-yard gain. So a successful challenge for the Stampeders.
And a big hit from Milton Collins.
Dion Murphy along with R.J. Franklin have dropped deep. And the left footer kicks it to Murphy at his 17. Up to the 24-yard line where the Stampeders will go on offense when we come back. Friday Night Football from Commonwealth, and on the sidelines is Sarah Orleski.
Chris, Joffrey Reynolds has been described by John Hufnagel as the heart and soul of this Stampeders offense, but that hasn't stopped them from creating more game plans with John Cornish in them, creating arguably one of the best 1-2 punches on the ground in the league. Reynolds said that had this been a few years ago, he probably would have had a little bit more difficulty with it, wondering what the coaches were thinking, but not at this point in his career. It's working out well for both of them. Considering what point we're at in the season, Reynolds says this is arguably the best that he's felt all throughout his entire career, and it's working out well for both of them. John Cornish sits 9th in league rushing. Joffrey Reynolds sits 2nd.
And Joffrey Reynolds gets 2 series. John Cornish gets 1. This is the 2nd series for Reynolds and his 3rd carry of the game.
And take a look at his all-time numbers and that ladder he's trying to climb to catch Kelvin Anderson and become the Stampeders all-time leader. There's his career numbers, and when he passes him in this game tonight, he'll do it in around 200 carries fewer than Anderson.
12 yards so far, 39 away. Passing situation over the middle, and he's got a catch for Romby Bryant. And a first down. Bryant with 2 touchdowns on Labor Day and 7 for the year.
Let me show you exactly why his coach is so happy to have a guy like Joffrey Reynolds in the backfield, because we talk a lot about his numbers and where he'll stand all time. That's good blitz pickup for Reynolds to the right of your screen as Javi Glatz coming off the edge picks him up right in the face of Henry Burris, keeps it wide and allows Burris to complete that pass.
13 yards, a first down as they convert on 2nd and long, but down he goes. Henry Burris sacked by Ken Petway, who chalks up his 4th of the year.
The defensive line may have a little more motivation because Greg Peach, who many felt would be their best on the D-line, was injured coming out of training camp, is due to return to the lineup next week. So always felt that pressure and competition behind you in the depth chart always pushes a player like nothing else can. So might see maybe the best game of the year from Ken Petway.
Loss of 5. 2nd and 15. Here they come again. Burris steps up, looks downfield for Bryant, and it's tipped away. They're going to call pass interference. Rod Williams with the knockdown.
Rod Williams came all the way across the field with Romby Bryant.
Pass interference. Edmonton, number 37. First down.
But it was tough to see his right hand, his backhand. I know he runs with them the entire way. He's up at the top of your screen. Now, there's no contact made when Romby Bryant makes his cut to the middle right here. He gets him to flip his hips and do what's called a speed turn, come all the way back around. Now, I'm not sure that right hand did make contact or twist Romby Bryant. Didn't look like there was much contact there at all.
37-yard penalty. First down, Calgary. Toss left side. Here's Reynolds. And he is dragged down. Chris Thompson in on the tackle along with the active TJ Hill.
Talk about Joffrey Reynolds and John Cornish. Cornish coming into this game has 40 carries. If Joffrey Reynolds, based on his 5.9-yard average, had those 40 carries, he would be well ahead of Corey Boyd for the league lead at this point in the season and on pace for his personal best.
6 for Reynolds, 2nd and 4. And back into the hands of Reynolds, powering for a first down. And things getting heated up after the whistle as Robbie Bryant has words with a couple members of that secondary. And Reynolds is going to go to the sidelines, and John Cornish will come in.
Pretty good contact on that last run. I think he just wants to regroup and catch his breath.
Back-to-back 6-yard runs for Reynolds and a first down for the Stampeders. Burris throwing. Look out! It's intercepted and down the sideline. Chris Thompson. Robbie Bryant can't catch him. It's an Edmonton Eskimo touchdown. 82 yards, the 6th interception of the year for Chris Thompson.
Boy, how many times have we said in the Canadian Football League with a 65-yard wide field, you have to be on time as a quarterback throwing a wide side out, and your launch point for Henry Burris has got to be 1, 2, 3. Now let it go. He gets pushed back 2, 3 more steps. The timing is off, and Chris Thompson has his 6th. And it's see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.
Leads the Eskimos. He's 2nd in the league. Number 6, his first since late July. And boy, did the Eskimos need that. Refontaine the extra point. And Edmonton has the lead. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Nissan. Shift the way you move. And a little momentum shift, courtesy of Chris Thompson.
Well, Chris Thompson, the good news for Edmonton fans is he's, with that major, has now outscored his offense from Monday. But because of the pressure Henry Burris faced on that throw, and the fact that he couldn't throw it when he wanted to, that gave Chris Thompson a chance to close and take that baby to the house.
Refontaine picking it off. Johnny Forzani on the return. And he's dropped at the 25-yard line. Good hustle downfield.
Let's show that interception again. This is supposed to be the launch point right here for Henry Burris, but because that pressure pushes him back a couple of steps, it allows Chris Thompson to close the gap. You can see Robbie Bryant running the out here. Here comes Thompson now. If Burris gets pushed back there a little bit too far, now he's on his back heel. He's throwing from leaning backwards. Can't get enough on it, and Thompson's gone.
Including 14th interception thrown by Henry Burris, and John Cornish into the game at running back.
Burris leads the league in touchdown passes and also does in interceptions. Got a great balance in his offense. He goes right back to the run after that pick for a touchdown.
3 yards for Cornish. And 2nd and 7 from the Calgary 30. Stamps have been over 50% in both games against Edmonton in second down conversion.
Will move the chains here. Nice throw and catch it, and you can see the veteran quarterback in Henry Burris, 12 years in the CFL, bounces right back from an interception for a touchdown, steps up good and strong in the pocket, throws that curl, and Kenyon Remble moves the chains.
headset malfunction. There we go. Back again as this one swung out, and there's Rambo again with a leap and brought down at midfield. Kenyon Rambo has 3 as he tried the Nick Lewis high hurdle.
Got over the first tackler, but it was the second that got him, and that was actually a lateral thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Kenyon Rambo from the left of the formation gets that in behind Henry Burris. Here comes the hurdle, and it's the second tackler that brings him down. Randy Drew, the halfback, makes a tackle.
Stamp trying to keep it alive here. 2nd and 7, and like the Eskimos were offside. Were they drawn? And Dario Romero with a little sparring in the interior of that defensive line.
Well, Javi Glatt was trying to time up his blitz from the linebacking core.
Offside. Edmonton, number 6, 5-yard penalty. It remains 2nd down.
So Glatt offside, then that'll change the play call for Calgary. It'll be 2nd and short. D. Sterling comes in now, and Glatt goes to the sidelines. As it now becomes 2nd and 2.
That's been a focus issue for the Edmonton Eskimos. They're the worst team in the league in procedure and offside calls.
Give to Cornish, he'll kick it outside. John Cornish for the first down, and boy, nearly made a whole lot more out of that. Good play by Rod Williams on the corner to cut him down.
Maybe one of these football players on offense, including Nick Lewis, is going to work his way around here and get involved in the protection here and the blocking for John Cornish as he comes around from right to left, makes a nice seal block there, and that allows Cornish to bounce and get outside.
Cornish 3 consecutive 70-yard rushing games.
Illegal substitution. Calgary at 13 men in their formation. This is a 10-yard penalty. It will be still first.
Well, you can hear Henry Burris in the offense arguing that as they were Dave Dickinson in the offense trying to make some changes, and somebody didn't leave the huddle quick enough. So it's marched back 10 to the Edmonton 52-yard line. It'll be 1st and 20. And Reynolds back in the game, a running back. Flag down. This play doesn't get off.
Kenyon Rambo was 5 yards down the field.
Offside. Calgary, number 85, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
So it's 1st down and 25 for the Stampeders. You know, you expect a little bit of this when 2 teams have to play twice in 4 days. But for the most part, the history of this game is some pretty dramatic stuff and some high-octane offense. Last year it was 35-34. Last-minute game-winning touchdown from Burris to Jermaine Copeland. See what they do on 1st and 25. Man open, and Robbie Bryant will be drilled out at the Eskimo bench. He'll be marked out at the 44-yard line.
But a good throw and catch for Calgary to get them in a manageable situation in 2nd down. I mean, you now are 2nd and 12. You have a chance. 1st and 20. You really just, the goal in 3-down football is to get at least halfway, get a manageable situation, and then see if you can't move the chains. But you're right, not quite the same sense of urgency from this Calgary offense that we saw on Monday.
13, so it's 2nd and 12. Throws that long out again, and this time he gets it there. And R.J. Franklin has the catch and a 1st down on the final play of the opening quarter, marked by a Chris Thompson interception return for a touchdown. Our first quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Well, just 2 first downs for the Edmonton Eskimos. If you take a look at the numbers, you would think it was just a continuation from Monday's game, especially in time of possession, where the Calgary Stampeders dominate that category and are first in the CFL after 9 weeks.
So I guess the question is, does that mean it is a matter of time before Calgary assumes control again, or is there enough of an energy boost from Chris Thompson to give Edmonton life?
Well, there's 2 things that may give Edmonton a little bit of life. You mentioned that score on defense by Chris Thompson. That's one. But they are getting better protection from the offensive line. That could pay off as this game goes on. And a little bit more pressure from their D-line. One of the reasons Chris Thompson got that interception.
Henry Burris putting together a drive here. And now 1st and 10 at the 27. He gives it straight ahead. Joffrey Reynolds will pound it down to the 22. 5 more. As Reynolds closing in now as 29 yards in the game. 22 from being number 1 all time as a Calgary Stampeder rusher. So again, Cornish will spell Reynolds. Rick Campbell, the former Eskimo assistant coach, the running back coach with these Stampeders. 2nd and 5. Out of the backfield, Cornish has it. He's got a first down. Inside the 10 and brought down at the 7.
John Cornish just going to take advantage here of a bit of a slow reacting middle linebacker in Maurice Lloyd. And Cornish, he gets this football. He's going to just head out into the flat. Maurice Lloyd's in charge of covering him, and he does not move to his right to get in proper position until way too late. And then he has to bubble back around the crossing routes to get there, and that's why Cornish has so much room.
14 for Cornish, and it's 1st and goal from the 8. Rob Cote out of the backfield, one of 6 receivers into the end zone, and it's a touchdown, Rob Cote. Henry Burris bouncing right back after the interception, and a touchdown drive for the Stamps.
It's a second receiving touchdown that Rob Cote has registered, one from Drew Tate, the backup quarterback, earlier in the season, and a nice throw and catch right there. And Rob Cote, the fullback, looks like a receiver, like a slot back coming out of the backfield.
Got a touchdown pass in BC and has one here in Edmonton. The Cochrane, Alberta native has given the Stampeders the lead, and Maver adds the extra point. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by TELUS, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. 9 plays, a 73-yard drive, and Rob Cote caps it with an 8-yard touchdown catch.
Well, the design of the play really helps Rob Cote there because he's got the perfect route based on the coverage they're going to get from the Edmonton defense in that situation, which is man-to-man. So Rob Cote, a fullback, will be matched up on Rod Davis, a linebacker.
Tristan Jackson from his 12. Looks like he's got fresh legs tonight.
Yep. Let's go back to that touchdown and show you where Rob Cote, by design, is going to have a bit of an advantage here on Rod Davis. Cote is coming out of the backfield, and there's Davis. Now, as he run this play, Davis has got to protect the inside of the field, so he's going to stay on that inside shoulder. You can see him in there because that's the easy throw. So he's protecting that and covering it pretty well. Rob Cote goes on the out route. You can see Rod Davis close, but not quite close enough, and a good throw and catch.
There's Brad Lester straight ahead, and Lester up to the 40-yard line and across for pickup of around 4 yards. Replacing Archie Whitlock, who against Calgary had 14 carries, 38 yards, and 2 starts. So The Eskimos had a lot of trouble establishing anything on the ground against the #1 ranked run defense. And there is the injured Whitlock.
Foot injury and likely gone for the rest of the year.
2nd and 6. Ricky Ray looking deep. And the catch is made, and Marco Mitchell's away. First game of the CFL. That's his first Canadian Football League touchdown. 69 yards.
7th round pick by the Washington Redskins in 2009. The Edmonton Eskimos continuing to try and find the right combination. Brandon Browner slips on the play and goes down. And Marco Mitchell takes his first catch to the house.
So the offense finally has a breakthrough against that Calgary defense. And just like that, the Eskimos regain the lead. Find out how you can create your own plays at NissanArmchairHero.com.
There's the matchup. Marco Mitchell on the All-Star and Brandon Browner. Watch the clean release that Mitchell gets to the outside. No contact made, so Brandon Browner is now trying to catch up. And when he's trying to catch up, he overruns it, tries to react back to it, can't, falls down, and Mitchell is in the end zone.
A 69-yard play. 2-play drive.
Chris, Brandon Browner is so good in that press coverage and has been throughout his CFL career because he gets his hands on the receiver. That time Marco Mitchell did not get touched. There was no jam. So bump and run just became run.
Mitchell is 6'3", 218, so a guy who might be able to handle a little bump and run. With the physical Browner, here's Dion Murphy taking the one hop and just gets it out around the 20-yard line.
Calgary Stampeders have been using this sort of set a little bit in the last few games where they're taking guys that are going to rush and they're taking them off the line of scrimmage. And really only one down lineman defensively. And this time they get caught in it because Ricky Ray plants his feet quickly to throw that go route to the outside to Marco Mitchell. And there's the result. Quick release by the quarterback, but this time that Calgary defense caught off the line of scrimmage and didn't get the pressure that Ray saw on Monday.
3rd meeting of the year and the first touchdown pass for Ricky Ray against the Stampeders. The only other Eskimo major was Jared Zabrensky to Jason Barnes, and there's that revamped offensive line. Greg Voigt at right tackle, the #1 Eskimo pick in 2008. And there he is.
Mississauga, what's up?
And that started out Joe McGrath at right tackle. They moved Jeremy Parquette there. So McGrath ended up in BC.
Excuse me, one import now on that offensive line. And second start for Voigt this year. He was the left guard in the season opener.
Let's go, man. We'll go for you, buddy.
Got an injured Eskimo on that kickoff team, so we'll step out for a moment. Tonight, Scotiabank Show Your Colors salutes Eskimo fans Kathy Gomezayas and her grandson Jesse Bouchard. Kathy, a long-time Eskimo season ticket holder. She had a program for the 1954 Eskimo team with autographs with Johnny Bright. And if Andrew Nowacki gets hurt, Jesse's ready to go in.
He's ready. Her favorite player, Gizmo Williams.
So the Stamps start just beyond their own 20, and that pass is caught as Robbie Bryant's got another as he works against Rod Williams. Bryant with 3 catches in the game.
Calgary now moving around the launch point for their quarterback, Henry Burrs, to get him on the half roll. And a perfect throw to work Robbie Bryant back to the football. You see Burris out there outside the tackle and works his receiver right back. It's throwing him open to the sideline.
Henry should be fresh. He came into the game 8 minutes into the third quarter on Monday. Joffrey Reynolds. Good gain up across the 41-yard line. So he keeps chipping away and closing in 7 more for Joffrey Reynolds.
You know, the thing that's maybe different from this Calgary football team than the 2008 championship team is how unselfish all of these teams. Not that the 08 team was a selfish team. It was a championship team. But you talk about Cornish and Joffrey Reynolds sharing the running back duties and not either one of them complaining. Robbie Bryant has seen the ball a little bit less since Kenyon Rambo. He's not complaining.
Second down, Burris throws. He's got a first down, and Bryant's got another catch to move the chains.
You know, Robbie Bryant, coming into the season when Kenyon Rambo was still on the shelf, was really the go-to guy. He was the guy that Henry Burris really leaned on early on. And his numbers reflected that. And then as soon as Kenyon Rambo came back after 4 games, his numbers dropped off. Pretty good game last week where he had 80 of his 198 yards coming in. Remember, that back half after Rambo came back was 5 games. Before was 4 games, and his numbers a lot higher. So his numbers have fallen off with the addition of Kenyon Rambo, but you haven't heard one word from Robbie Bryant about it. He's just one piece of the puzzle in Calgary, and I think you could say that about the entire team. And you look at their rotation on defense, offense, their weapons in the receiving core, and then the sharing of the running game between Joffrey Reynolds and John Cornish.
Rod Williams, who had an interception for the Eskimos, is still down, getting attention. And while he gets attention, let's hear from Henry Burris on the welcome addition of Robbie Bryant.
When he came into Calgary last year, he was really, you know, one of our only go-to guys down the field. Actually, probably our only go-to guy down the field because it was his ability to stretch the field. I mean, the guy possesses, excellent speed. He could change gear and run by anybody in this league, and guys respect that about him because he plays a lot of passion, he plays a lot of heart, but the number one thing is he does what it takes to get better.
Now take a look at this receiving core as a group. Every team wants a Kenyon Rambo, Robbie Bryant, a G-Roy Simon. That kind of player. A Fred Stamps if you're the Edmonton Eskimos, who's hurt right now. But when you look at Kenyon Rambo, and then you go to Nick Lewis, the leader in yak yards in the Canadian Football League, Robbie Bryant, and then you sprinkle in a little R.J. Franklin after that. Boy, that is a real good receiving core. Arguably the best in the CFL. All 3, when you talk about their 3 imports, can take it down the field in a hurry, and R.J. Franklin, one of the toughest Canadian receivers in the game.
Burris has 157 yards passing in this game without hooking up with Nick Lewis yet. And there's another good run straight ahead for Joffrey Reynolds. 7-6 more, and he's within 8 now of number 1 all-time in Calgary.
Similar running back to Calvin Anderson. Both very durable. You hear that word all the time when you talk about 21. The Calgary Stampeders won't say a lot. That was a great story on him with Brian Williams in the pregame show and how quiet he is, and just when he scores, he hands the ball back to the official.
2nd and 4. Back to Reynolds. Is this the run? Crashing ahead, and he is close to a first down at the 45. Well, he will pass Kelvin Anderson in this game, but there's great history of runners in Calgary. You think of James Sykes and Willie Burton, Earl Lunsford, and 21 about to take his spot at the top of the list. He needs 4. It's like the chains are coming out, and a short yardage team about to come on for the Stampeders.
Yeah, and that's when you really put it into perspective, the accomplishment, when you start throwing names out like you just did, Chris, and then you look at the guy who will be on top of the list for all of them. Joffrey Reynolds, he said in that piece, if you missed it, which will be on the internet, first down for Calgary, will be on tsn.ca. Of course, if you want to see that story on Joffrey Reynolds, I missed it in the pregame show. And he talked about handing the ball back to the official and how He may just surprise everyone, he said, and come up with a touchdown dance.
Hey, 24!
Well, I'd be surprised.
Was a first down by the nose of the football. Jones, 6 receivers set. And Burris on the pressure again, and Ken Petway's got him again. Well, he was in the Nick Lewis wedding party, and he's been in the Calgary Stampeder backfield in this first half.
Yes, he has. Line up in the stand-up position off the edge. I believe he's working on Edwin Harrison. And let's take a look. Good push, good extension with his arms, and he keeps leverage to the outside. So when Henry Burris tries to escape and escape wide, Ken Petway is there to corral him.
So a couple of sacks for Petway, 5 on the year. And it's 2nd and 20. Three-man rush. Burris gets it away, has a completion. Dion Murphy the catch. Javi Glad will bring him down. And it will be 3rd down Calgary.
A good defensive call here to show blitz. Drop your linebackers out. Force Henry Burris on 2nd and long to throw it underneath. Then the linebackers and Javi Glatt, Maurice Lloyd rally to the tackle.
Well, that's an interesting decision by John Hufnagel, a young field goal kicker who has struggled of late, is being sent on the field to attempt a 51-yarder, his longest in his rookie season from 45.
And Tristan Jackson in the end zone if he misses it.
A little bit of a gamble, but vote of confidence from the head coach for his young kicker. See how it plays out. He's missed it. And he's short too, and Tristan Jackson on the return. And a good one it is, up around the 40-yard line. As Rob Maber misses his longest attempt of the year. Let's go to the sidelines and join Sarah.
Chris, new Eskimos running back Brad Lester has some big shoes to fill in the place of injured Archie Whitlock, who went on the 9-game injured list after Monday's loss in Calgary. Lester, who played university ball in Auburn, describes himself as being a very aggressive player who likes to run through people. Some of that attitude could surely be welcome here on this Eskimos team. He is described by Richie Hall as being a little bit of a double-edged sword. While he feels that he's adapted well to the playbook in his short time here, he has fresh legs, but conversely, he is new to the game. So there's a little bit of hesitation or a little bit of mixed emotions when it comes to Lester.
So he's kind of being spelled right now with Calvin McCarty, as you see a good catch by Kelly Campbell for an Eskimo first down up across the 50-yard line.
And Brad Lester, you think about his Auburn career. I mean, maybe the most famous running back coming out of Auburn, Stephen Davis. Retired as a Panther in 08, but Bo Jackson was also a running back at Auburn.
First down up at the 52, the fake to McCarty. Way on a roll, and he throws that into the turf, short of the target, Kelly Campbell.
But that's where you wonder how much Brad Lester can really get worked in. I mean, Richie Hall would like to see his new running back and see what he can do, but he can't have full grasp of the entire playbook at this point. It's too short a time to do it, and that's why he's watching this series, and they're going with fullback and tailback and Calvin McCarty.
2 carries, 7 yards for Lester. And a passing situation here with that 1-down lineman set for Calgary on 2nd and 10. Ray throwing deep, looking for Andre Talbot, and a brilliant defensive play by Keon Raymond. The Sam linebacker stretched out when it looked like Talbot had a step.
Ricky Ray is loading up. When he sees that defensive line back off, he's getting rid of the football in a hurry, and his answer to this is trying to get inside and get the ball deep. He's going to go quickly to Andre Talbot here, and it is linebacker Keon Raymond who ends up covering him and picking him up late, but the ball slightly underthrown, or might be a big play for the Edmonton Eskimos.
I just read the 26. I had him. I just couldn't say.
And you heard him. I had him.
I had him.
He did. Fontaine, high, good boot. And a beautiful job of cornering Dion Murphy as he is dropped just beyond the 15-yard line.
Four-time All-Canadian Joffrey Reynolds, and the CFL's leading rusher last 2 years. Needs 4 yards to become the Stamps all-time rusher. When you consider he's 25 carries behind Corey Boyd, who leads the league this year, if he had those 25 carries and his average, he would be in that #1 spot.
So the Stampeders start at their own 16. Reynolds in behind Burris is going to throw over the middle, and it's Kenyon Rambo with the first down, and another hurdle from Rambo. Second time we've seen that. He's up close to the 30-yard line and a gain of 14.
This time the linebackers for the Edmonton Eskimos are moving forward. When they move forward, you see the safety in the middle. He's down low, and Jason Nugent, and he's going to try and step forward and then show it and drop out. That's why underneath Kenyon Rambo is so wide open. Two linebackers going forward, and your safety trying to disguise and drop out of there and create some space.
Rob Williams knocked back in the game. Weldon Brown's on the corner for Edmonton. Quick pass to Cote. Second catch for him. And he'll be marked out around the 39-yard line, so close to 9 for Cote.
Rob Cote has now 7 catches in 2010, but he's showing great hands. I mean, that touchdown catch, he went one-on-one with Rod Davis, was a tough catch to make, and that one on the sideline wasn't easy either.
He's got 2 more catches in the game than Nick Lewis, who has been quiet so far tonight. So second and a yard to Tate. Short yardage team in. And a pitch, Joffrey Reynolds. And there it is. Joffrey Reynolds is the all-time Calgary Stampeder rusher with a run across midfield and into history.
And Drew Tate will be part of that history because he's the guy who makes the perfect decision to get Joffrey Reynolds the football. And here it is, Calgary Stampeder history, a pinch out on an option play. Joffrey Reynolds passes Kelvin Anderson.
So a 16-yard run puts him over the top. And the Stamps across midfield to the Edmonton 54. Play action, Burris deep. Robbie Bryant can't make the catch. Looked like he had a step. There is a flag back near the line of scrimmage. And the Eskimos indicating holding. Will wait for confirmation from Andre Proulx.
Holding Calgary number 60. That penalty's declined. Second down.
Let's go back and show you a little bit of Calgary Stampeder history and the great decision as Maurice Lloyd on that run by Joffrey Reynolds is coming off the edge, and he's got zap technique, I used to call it, where he takes the quarterback immediately. Quick decision by Drew Tate for that pitch on the option to give it to Joffrey Reynolds. And that's it, the all-time leading rusher, Calgary Stampeder history.
Eskimos decline a holding penalty. Don't push Calgary back 10. They want 2nd and 10. And they're getting more pressure on Burris. Downfield, catch made. Kenyon Rambo's got a down grab at the Edmonton 43.
And it was an interesting decision. You're looking at 1st and 20, 2nd and 10. Easy to second guess it when the Calgary Stampeders convert. Like there was some confusion in their linebacking core for the Edmonton Eskimos there as they're both dropping in the same area and opened up a little space for Rambo.
Henry Burris over 200 yards passing. Calgary the only team with over 300 yards against this number 2 ranked Edmonton pass defense. They've done it twice. Big to Reynolds. Nicholas first catch. And he'll get dragged down. Or really got an extra yard or 2 on the lunges. It took Weldon Brown and Chris Thompson to bring Nick Lewis down. The 3-minute warning in Edmonton. 2 minutes, 45 seconds away from GMC Sierra, live at the half with Dave Jock, Milt, and Schultze, who looks impressed with the pressure that the Eskimos have been able to put on tonight. How about Milt calling for an Edmonton win, and with 2 receivers, you know, we'll hear a lot about receivers at halftime.
Yeah, a lot of receiver chatter.
Second and short, pump, and Burris under pressure again with the flag down. He's brought down behind the line of scrimmage.
Calgary going with the element of surprise on second and short, trying to go back and throw the football, but it wasn't really play action from Henry Burris. He took the shotgun snap, dropped straight back. So
Holding Calgary number 60. That penalty's declined. Third down.
Back-to-back holding calls for Dan Komisky.
Right, the former Eskimo. And that decline, they'll take the sack.
You know, Henry Burris here does have a running back in the backfield, but doesn't really use him. He drops straight back, no play action there, so it doesn't hold the defensive line at all. And they end up collapsing the pocket.
So Rob Maver called upon again, missed from beyond the 50. And this is a tough test from 44 yards out. The kid trying to bump a slump and get Calgary within 1. And he's missed this one. And Tristan Jackson going to bring it up again. Oh, brought down at the 10. Big tackle by Tom Johnson.
Oh, boy. And Tristan Jackson, good for him to get up, because that is a load coming down the field. Tom Johnson just shy of 290 bills, and Tristan Jackson doesn't see him coming.
Those are the big guys you're supposed to be able to run around. Not Tom Johnson.
Good feat for a big man to go ahead and cover that missed field goal, and Tom Johnson, who leads all interior defensive linemen in tackles.
Boy, he's having an all-star season, isn't he?
Really is.
First down from the 10. Ricky Ray looked like he wanted to shovel it. He's going to have to take a hit, and he gets bounced out big time by the middle linebacker, Jawan Simpson.
On Labor Day, Ricky Ray attempted 22 passes. He was hit, hurried, or sacked on 20 of them. Only 2 times was he not harassed in the pocket. Now he tries to get to the sideline here, dips his shoulder. He may want to just get out of bounds in that situation.
Heat-seeking missile. Simpson arrived in a nasty mood and has his 4th sack of the year. Loss of 2, 2nd and 12. Here comes the pressure. Ray gets it away. Kelly Campbell can't make the catch. Working against Brandon Smith, and the Eskimos will have to kick from deep in their own zone.
Well, the one thing that Ricky Ray is doing is getting rid of the football quicker. And when he sees blitz coming from the Calgary Stampeders, he's been able to release the football. That's what he couldn't do on Monday. And that would have been a tough catch by Kelly Campbell over the middle, a little bit behind him.
So what does Prefontaine do here? Does he kick away or put a knee down? Does concede the safety, and it's now a 2-point game with 1:48 remaining in the first half. We've seen Joffrey Reynolds run into Calgary Stampeder history. The thoughts of his quarterback, Henry Burris.
Guy's a rock, simply. He's a rock. And, I mean, he runs with the low center of gravity, and he punishes people. I mean, people know when they come to hit Joffrey Reynolds, you got to pack a lunch. And, I mean, defensive players will tell you that across the league. I know when he first came into this league, and I played for Saskatchewan at the time, you know, I looked at this guy like, who's number 32? But each game as he continued to play, all you saw was a guy getting better and better.
And he did start as number 32.
119 carries coming into this game tonight, and Joffrey Reynolds does not have a fumble He has not fumbled the football all season long.
And that's an interesting story, because at one time that was about the only issue anybody could pick with Joffrey Reynolds. In his career, he has fumbled 27 times, lost 15 of them. There were 3 in a playoff game.
Okay.
But he has not put one down in the opening 9 games of this season.
Oh, okay, yeah. 92? Okay.
So the Stamps still have time here to take the lead before the half. Getting the ball back with a 2-point deficit and close to 2 minutes still on the clock. Johnny Forzani finds the handle. Now runs cross field looking for a crease and gets it across the 40.
Joffrey Reynolds passed Calvin Anderson, on the first guys to come and congratulate him. His head coach, John Hufnagel. You mentioned the great running backs in Calgary Stampeder history. John Hufnagel knows that history, knows it well, and has that perspective when he goes to congratulate his star running back.
And that's an indication it's an important milestone, because the coach usually doesn't spend a lot of time offering individual congratulations during the course of a game.
Well, usually they don't even know about those records.
Now they swing it out to John Cornish, another catch. And John Cornish just keeps making things happen, doesn't he? Cornish down to the Edmonton 32-yard line. 37 yards for Cornish out of the backfield.
University of Kansas Jayhawk shows tremendous speed. He gets this little swing pass. Not sure if it was behind the line of scrimmage or not, but Cornish comes out from behind. Henry Burris in the shotgun. Watch a great cutback right there. Open field.
First down in the flat. Catch is made. Dion Murphy bumped out by Chris Thompson.
Seniors in his senior year at the University of Kansas had over 1,400 yards rushing, still a first, and that was first place in the Big 12 Conference. Great speed in the open field. That 8.8 yard average proves it.
Rushing this year against Edmonton, coming into the game, 16 carries, 150 yards. The second, and a yard and a half, and Reynolds straight ahead will push the pile down to the 20. Another Calgary first down with 69 seconds left on the clock. They didn't make the same mistake as the last time they looked at 2nd and 1 and took a sack.
Hey, Dave Dickinson has been real good at play calling for this football team to have an 8-1 record at this point. But you're right, I wasn't big on the 2nd and short throw from the shotgun on the last series that didn't work.
Into the final minute. Stampeders down by 2, but threatening here. Burris underneath. It's Bromby Bryant again. And will be stopped short of the first down at the 13 as Rod Williams has checked back into the game.
Some of the subtleties that a quarterback, a good veteran quarterback, will have that a young guy won't. And in this case, he's going to have Bromby Bryant come over the middle. But watch how Henry Burris right here is going to hold on to the ball for a split second longer and let Bromby Bryant cross through the linebackers. He could have thrown it earlier than that, and a young quarterback probably does, but that allows the linebackers to react quicker. He waits for Bromby Bryant to get past him and then throws it.
Okay, here's 2nd and 1. What do they do here? Tate around the end, and Tate will move the chains. I know Jock mentioned this Monday, and we've seen evidence of it again tonight. So much diversity. Everybody gets involved in this Calgary offense. We've seen Bryant prominent, R.J. Franklin's a catch, Rambo,
Calgary.
Reynolds and Cornish, Dion Murphy.
Well, Drew Tate in the backup roles had a touchdown throw in the last 4 games.
All the weapons are used, and
Drew Tate out of Iowa. He was in college. He actually committed to Texas A&M and decided to go to Iowa when there was a coaching change.
Dario Romero, an injured Edmonton Eskimo getting attention here with a half-minute remaining. Well, you saw the coach congratulate the running back. His thoughts on Joffrey Reynolds.
I'm very pleased for Joffrey. For the 2.5 years that I've been associated with Joffrey Reynolds, he's been nothing but a great teammate, a great player. He works hard in practice, starting from the very first day of training camp. Assignment-wise, makes very few mistakes. And the thing that a little surprising, that surprises me about Joffrey, is how well he catches the football.
And the ultimate compliment from Coach John Hufnagel a few weeks ago when he called him the heart and soul of the Calgary offense.
Well, coaches see a lot of the things that the average fan doesn't, and he brought up a couple of times when, you know, it was later in games and the games were pretty much decided, and Joffrey Reynolds would take the ball deep in his own end and you know, would just will himself to the first down marker, and when the game was already pretty much decided at that point. So, you know, the coach notices things like that. He noticed that extra effort. He brought it up with me a couple of weeks back, John Hufnagel, talking about, you know, go back and watch some of the games that they're all wrapped up, and Joffrey Reynolds just keeps churning, keeps battling, keeps fighting for extra yards. We mentioned how consistent he is, and no fumbles this season. It'll be tougher to stop him without Dario Romero in the middle, too.
D. Sterling in. Reynolds has 67 yards. Burris 266 in the air. And a quarterback draw wide open. Touchdown. Henry Burris. And the Stamps are back in front.
They empty the backfield, put Joffrey Reynolds out to wide receiver. And what does that do but take a linebacker out there with him? Because down in this part of the field, defensively, you pretty much have to play man-to-man. And Joffrey Reynolds is going to play wide receiver. Dave Dickinson moves him outside. There's Joffrey Reynolds. He's the wide receiver. So he's got a linebacker covering him. Henry Burris has no second level on the defensive unit. And he has one guy to beat, and that's the safety, Jason Nugent.
8-yard touchdown run, his second touchdown of the season. Burris puts Calgary back in front, Maver the extra point. 6 play, 69-yard touchdown drive for the Stamps, who statistically have dominated this first half and now can point to the scoreboard and have evidence of that.
You get no linebacking core. So now the linebackers have vacated because of the formation. This becomes 1-on-1, quarterback and free safety. Now, watch the move. Once Henry Burris decides on the hole he wants to go through, there it is right through the middle. Now watch this move in the open field. Whoop! And he's going one way. Henry Burris the other.
Got Jason Nugent leading, that's for sure.
Henry Burris on Labor Day was so efficient in the passing game, he did not attempt to rush. And that's something that has always been part of Henry Burris's game, is to run 3, 4, 5, upwards of sometimes 10, 12 rushes per game.
Joffrey Reynolds mentioned how good he feels at 30. Henry Burris looks pretty good at 35, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, there's a few more years in both of those players, definitely.
Maver short kick, Weldon Brown's got it. And he gets spun around at the 45. And finally forced out. Gets pretty intense down there as some shoves get exchanged and things boil over a bit.
Well, with this matchup, you know you're going to get a little of this. And when you look at the back-to-back, the Labor Day Classic and then the rematch here in Edmonton through the years, the Labor Day Classic has been all about intensity, and the rematch all about survival.
So 19.5 seconds left. Let's see if Richie Hall's team can answer with some points here. Now down by 5. Jason Barnes goes in motion. 3 receivers wide side. They call the draw to McCarty. And McCarty up across the 50-yard line.
Well, the good news for the Edmonton Eskimos are when you think about 108 points to 20 in the last 2 meetings being outscored, they come in and not many gave them much chance in this one to be within a touchdown. That's the good news for the Eskimos. The bad news, when Calgary's leading at halftime, they're 6-0 this year.
There's Ray underneath, Matthew Bertrand. And he's cut down at the 50-yard line, 3.3 left. Would they try a 57-yarder?
Timeout, Edmonton.
Noel Prefontaine's longest of the year, 52. No wind at the stadium. The flags are still.
Well, you're looking at longer than that, though, here with the 7 yards from the line of scrimmage. Looked like it just out of the range of Noel Prefontaine. Ricky Ray could try and throw up a long pass, see if he gets a pass interference call or a miracle.
Time of possession in the first half, 22 minutes and change for Calgary. And just over 7 minutes, and Prefontaine talked them into it. Give it a go from 57 yards out. A little bit of a gamble with Dion Murphy back.
Yeah, bigger guys covering.
He returned 105 against Hamilton on a missed field goal. Prefontaine, does he have the leg? He's got it! Noel Prefontaine with an adrenaline boost to the half with a 57-yarder.
Money. Prefontaine in the big win versus Saskatchewan made 2 biggies. That grabs momentum.
57-yarder. It's a 2-point game at the half.
Friday Night Football is about to go down. Calgary versus Edmonton. Stay tuned. Come on, Pete!
It's the Labor Day rematch from Commonwealth Stadium, and a different story than it was on Monday, at least. Heading into the second half, let's join Sarah Oleski with Eskimo head coach Richie Hall.
Coach, that looked like a much more aggressive team in the first half than what we saw on Monday. What was the biggest difference?
They're just playing hard. They're playing with a lot of pride, and they're playing the way they're capable of playing. They're making plays, and they're playing inspired football out there.
You start the second half trailing, but how much of a lift can that team take from Noel Prefontaine's 57-yard field goal to end the half?
Well, it's a big lift. You know, in the locker room, they were very upbeat, very positive, and they believe. You know, they're playing physical football, and that's the start for us. And then all we got to do is just close out, finish the second half.
Thanks for this.
Thank you.
Career longest for Noel Prefontaine to send the Eskimos charging to the locker room at halftime. Let's see how they come out for the second half, down by 2. As Johnny Forzani will return it from his 16-yard line. And Forzani dumped across the 30-yard line. Henry Burris lit it up statistically in that first half.
Yeah, Milt Stiegel talked about time of possession, but 266 passing for Henry Burris. He did have the one mistake John Hufnagel talked about, the interception to Chris Thompson for a touchdown. And he has a rushing touchdown of his own in that first half. A great statistical first half for the Stampeders, but just a 2-point lead.
Well, they start at the Calgary 33-yard line. And Jackie Reynolds gets the first call of the second half off the left side up to the 37. Well, it's uncanny how much different games can be from Monday to Friday. This is the biggest turnaround Back in '94 when Calgary crushed Edmonton 48-15. I'm sure most people didn't expect the Eskimos could come back, and they won big in the rematch.
Yeah, the difference between, you know, the games, the blowout games for the Calgary Stampeders, they're on the road this time. Those two are in Calgary.
Second down. Underneath. Catch is made. Kenyon Rambo up near midfield and out at the Eskimo bench. 7 different receivers for Henry Burris in the first half, and Rambo now has his 4th of the game.
And right now, Dave Dickinson, John Hufnagel, Henry Burris are starting to attack the middle of the Edmonton defense right behind the linebacking core, because those linebackers of Maurice Lloyd and Javi Glatt are getting tight to the line of scrimmage. As long as they stay up there tight, they're going to run those crossing routes until the Edmonton Eskimos start to eliminate them.
Randy Duke finally pushed Rambo out after a 20-yard pickup into Edmonton territory. Back into the hands of Reynolds, and this time not going anywhere as he's drilled back. Rod Davis, Kai Ellis on the stop.
You know, Rod Davis is another guy that he gets grouped into a team that is off to just a horrible start at 2-7. But Rod Davis, like TJ Hill, has quietly been solid all year long. He's going to step up, and the big reason that Joffrey Reynolds gets nothing on this play. Nice linebacker play. He sees the hole, and Joffrey Reynolds steps right into his arms.
So a loss, about a half yard on the play. 2nd and 10 and a bit. And another second down conversion as Nick Lewis with the catch and trying to lean forward to make sure that that is a first down grab. 2nd catch of the game for number 82.
When they need to get Nick Lewis involved, they run this quick out for him. And you know, the linebacker TJ Hill's playing the inside, missed the jam. If you don't get your hands on the receiver and reroute them, it's awful tough to defend a timing play like that.
So the Stamps are marching again. And the toss right side for Reynolds. We're blocking. Joffrey Reynolds, big hole, down inside the 15 and pushed out by Davis inside the 10. Now
big blocks for Joffrey Reynolds to the outside. A couple of receivers are involved there. The fullback, I believe, in Rob Cote as well. They run sort of that bunch formation to the right, and then they need a couple of down blocks there so that Joffrey Reynolds can get the corner. R.J. Franklin's going to get one on Randy Drew. Big pulling guard there on T.J. Hill. That's a mismatch because T.J. Hill's under 200 pounds and just gets in front of him enough. Joffrey Reynolds just galloping.
33 yards for Reynolds. He's over 100 for the 30th time in his CFL career. And a timeout called by the Stampeders. That's the longest run of the year for Joffrey Reynolds.
Boy, that was so well executed. That toss play to get him outside and get the blocks that he needed. Is he coming around now? He's got a pulling offensive lineman right in front of him. And Franklin right there was the down block. Look at Cote right here. He's the kick-out block. There's the pulling lineman cutting off any pursuit in the middle. Joffrey Reynolds gallops through a huge hole, but the blocking downfield, that's how you execute a running play. Don't need to throw it at all if you could execute like that in the run game.
Gallop, the operative word. Down to the 9, 1st and goal. Bryant motion, takes the handoff, and Robbie Bryant will be grabbed and tossed out at the 4. They use that power sweep.
Joffrey Reynolds in one direction, heading to the left, little misdirection there. Underneath handoff to Robbie Bryant. Now, he did get outside of Javi Glatt, but was run down by the defensive back. I believe it was Rod Williams.
3.5 minutes into the second half, and Calgary has amassed 424 yards of offense. 3 away from pay dirt. Reynolds. No Burris, keeper. 2nd touchdown of the game. Henry Burris caps another touchdown drive for the Stamps with a 3-yard run.
And I love the call because you know the attention that the defense is going to give Joffrey Reynolds. So it's that ride and decide play for the quarterback and Burris. He rides the stomach of Reynolds for a split second, sees the defense react, pulls it, and gets outside of the corner. Another good move on a defensive back and Rod Williams this time. Remember when he made Jason Nugent miss?
Made for the extra point. And a 9-point Stamp lead. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by TELUS, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. 7 plays, 76 yards.
Hope y'all watching back home. We gotta keep going now. We gotta keep going.
And they are watching on the NFL Network tonight, so hi to the Burris family back in Oklahoma.
Hey Armand, hey Bear, hey Nicole, love you guys. We're gonna get this thing going right here.
I think he's got it going.
Yeah, he's got it going. This offense on pace for 600 in this game.
Kristen Jackson on the return. And up to the 30-yard line before he's taken down.
Let's take a look down on the goal line and how the play action can influence the linebackers. Maurice Lloyd is right here. Now, he's got to play the run, and he's hoping his fellow linebacker in TJ Hill will react and bounce out to contain. But both get caught up looking at Joffrey Reynolds. That allows Henry Burris the corner, and then he's one-on-one with Rod Williams, and that's the second time he is beaten out. A defensive back, and you can see Cody, our cameraman, was faked. We were faked up here in the booth.
Play-by-play hit, and Ricky Ray is brought down for a loss. Devon Claybrooks, who's still unbeaten. He did not play in the only Calgary loss against the Argonauts in Toronto.
Well, you almost start to get the sense and that feeling that the Calgary Stampeders went in at halftime, even though Noel Prefontaine made the long field goal of 57 yards. They kind of went into at halftime and said, let's get down to business here. Because Henry Burris takes it right down and scores, and the defense starts their first series with a sack by Devon Claybrooks.
Claybrooks, who really jolted Ray back on August the 15th. Screen on 2nd and 19. Calvin McCarty cuts it back, and McCarty's got something up across the 30 to the 34-yard line, but it's a 2-and-out as the Eskimos are turned back by the Chris Jones defense.
Yeah, third-year defensive coordinator in Calgary. He's worked with different personnel. He has a defensive unit without real big-name stars. I mean, other than maybe the corners and Brandon Browner and Dwight Anderson, just a group that doesn't have a tackler in the top 20, yet has 12 different players that have sacks. They have a rotation. It's an unselfish defense. Defense built around speed.
And a defense that revved it up last week because they gave up 2 touchdowns in garbage time the week prior in BC. And that didn't sit well with anybody. And they took it out on the Eskimos.
South Beach, let's go!
Prefontaine gets it away.
Nice catch.
Murphy at his 38, and the no-yards flag will fly as they didn't give him 5 yards. It'll be a 15-yard penalty. Our sack tally is brought to you by Purolator, tackling hunger across Canada. Check.
You know, it's funny when you look at the leaders in Calgary Stampeders. I mentioned 12 different players with sacks. So it's always funny, look at the bottom 2 teams, Edmonton, Toronto, when they don't have many, the coaching staff will say, oh, sacks are overrated.
Eskimos do lead in that department tonight, 3-2. Looking deep for Robbie Bryant, and just out of his reach. Step for step was Chris Thompson.
Sacks aren't overrated, just ask quarterbacks. Because sacks can win that field position battle. Henry Burris' offensive line, in fact, lead the league coming into this game tonight, just allowing 15 on the season.
On Monday, they were 56.5% successful on second down conversions. They've been good again here tonight. Let's see what they do here on 2nd and 10 from close to midfield. And that one out of the reach of R.J. Franklin with Brock Williams in the neighborhood. Another one of those dangerous passes in the flat, but it falls incomplete, and it is a rare 2-and-out for the Stamps.
Yeah, an important stop for the Edmonton Eskimos, though, to come out of the gate after the momentum from the Prefontaine field goal, have Burris go down and score a touchdown in the first series. You know, that doubt for a team that's been blown out against their rival in a couple of straight games, that doubt starts to creep in there in that easy series out of the gate. But that could be a big stop.
And it just ruined Nick Lewis's night because he wanted a no-punt game. And this will be the first for Burkdales. First 2-and-out. First punt. Kristen Jackson. Flag down as he tries to get outside, and Jawan Simpson brings him to the turf. Midway through the third quarter, Stampeders lead by 9. Back at Commonwealth and back to the sidelines, it's Sarah Orleski.
Understandably, Chris, strong words came out of the Eskimos locker room after their loss on Monday, including head coach Richie Hall saying that their team could have been beat by a high school football team. Ricky Ray says he's never been a part of a team that's had these types of struggles in his career. And another player said to me that while he doesn't like to think that the losses play into this with respect to their mindset, perhaps he's naive to think that when things start going wrong that they don't get that here we go again feeling. Chris?
Well, Sarah, here we go again with another penalty, and this is a big series, or else it might be here we go again as the Eskimos on a penalty.
Legal procedure. Edmonton, number 69. Half the distance to the goal. Still first down.
That's the left tackle, Jeremy Parquette, after Will Harris had been called for an illegal block on the punt return, so they're about as deep as they can get right now.
Well, on both bad penalties, the Will Harris hit was straight in the back at the point of attack, and now you can see where Edmonton will start this drive.
108-yard field right now as they start from the 2. And they have the battle downfield for Marco Mitchell up against Brandon Browner. Mitchell with the offensive touchdown for the Eskimos in the first half.
Now, the Calgary defense really sort of dictates this type of attempts from the Edmonton Eskimo quarterback, because Chris Jones is sending pressure. He's going after Ricky Ray, and he's saying, go ahead and take a shot out there. We'll let our all-star corners in Brandon Browner and Dwight Anderson play bump and run man coverage, and we'll take our chances on those deep balls. Now, Brandon Browner did slip on one play, a touchdown to Marco Mitchell, but he's locked him down ever since.
Mentioned in the first half how rare it is for Ricky Ray to be below 50%. He's at 46.2%. And in trouble, and there's 2. The safety as Jawan Simpson has his second sack of the game. 5th sack of the year for the middle linebacker, having a brilliant season for the Calgary Stampeders.
Jawan Simpson is going to take advantage of full pressure from the Calgary Stampeders. You can see how Chris Jones gets pretty fired up with his unit to get the safety of the football. They're going to send pressure in there, and now Simpson's going to come around the corner. But that pressure in the middle will hold the offensive line in tight. They can't get out too wide, and that's why they're going to let Jawan Simpson around the edge. Ricky Ray thought about just trying to throw it out to Calvin McCarty, didn't get rid of it. And that'll be the safety. Calgary Stampeders get the 2 points and the ball back.
Well, they had one of those late on Labor Day against Jason Moss in the Eskimo end zone.
Defensive captain for the Alabama Crimson Tide in his senior year, Jawan Simpson. Also came in leading the league in special teams. When your middle linebacker is leading the league in special teams, you got a player.
We're going to beat Penn State. But right now, we're going to take care of Edmonton. Let's go.
And this is a guy that was a healthy scratch 7 games last year. They found a different role for him, and From Russia in a year ago to middle linebacker now. Maybe having an all-star season. And off the kickoff, Calgary's offense going to get it back. Johnny Borzani got drilled. He got knocked back about 3 or 4 yards. There's a flag down. We'll sort it out when we come back on Friday night at Commonwealth. Big CFL on TSN doubleheader tomorrow. First up, it's the Alouettes, the Ticats, and that'll be an interesting showdown. 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 in the morning Pacific time, and following that at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, it's the Argonauts and the Lions at Empire.
Doesn't look like Anthony Calvillo will be ready for that game. Will not dress. Adrian McPherson gets the start, but the Ticats an opportunity to move into a tie atop the East.
Was a holding call against the Stampeders on the return. They start at the 35, and there's Kenyon Rambo with another catch, and he's knocked out by Randy Drew. 5 catches for number 85 on the night.
CFL leader in 2008, 1,473 yards. Of course, the well-documented knee injury that caused him to miss the first 4 games of the season, but great numbers since his return. 5 games, 410 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Had one in his very first game back.
2nd and 2, and Joffrey Reynolds will get the first down up to the 50. And the Eskimos defense really hasn't had an answer tonight for this multifaceted Calgary offense.
Well, this is the one thing that Richie Hall's unit knew that they wanted to accomplish, and that was to limit or control Joffrey Reynolds. They wanted to stop the run for a couple of reasons. One, they didn't want to be the team that he became the all-time leader in Stamps history against. And the other is you've got to control him to make them a one-dimensional team. They haven't been able to do it.
1st and 10 from the 50. Short drop, Nick Lewis the catch. And he falls forward close to another first down at the Eskimo 50. Lewis came into the game the #1 receiver in the league in yards after the catch.
Quiet tonight, though. Just starting to get a couple of footballs thrown his way. You know, when you look at those yards after catch numbers, though, interesting that Nick Lewis, more than half of his yardage this year.
52% yards after the catch for Lewis. 11 there. Here comes the blitz. Play action fake, and downfield it's Kenyon Rambo with another grab as Henry Burris plays pitch and catch.
You can do that when you have lots of time. He had Nick Lewis open on the sideline. He had Robbie Bryant open in the curl. And he had Kenyon Rambo further down the field. Play action, just drawing that defensive line in. Kai Ellis real slow to react back outside. That gives Burris lots of time to decide which one of his open receivers he wanted to hit. And there's Kenyon Rambo.
Henry Burris closing in on a season high, 340 yards against Winnipeg. He's at 335 here. With about 20 minutes of football left. There it is, a pass over the middle complete, but a flag on the play. Let's find out what this is about as Lewis has another grab, his 4th of the game.
Looks like this will go against Calgary and maybe a holding call. Dan Comiskey's had a couple of these. Dario Romero has been
holding Calgary, number 60, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
3rd tonight for Comiskey.
And he's been up against Dario Romero right there, that second arrow for the entire game tonight. And Dario Romero out of Eastern Washington is a load. He tries to get out and around, and he just wraps up around the shoulder pad area and doesn't let him go.
So that negates the Lewis catch. That's 1st and 20. And it dumped off. And he brought down at the 29, T.J. Hill and Jason Nugent there.
Good contact by Tim O'Neill, the pulling center on the screenplay. Little screenplay out to the left of the formation for Joffrey Reynolds. Tim O'Neill came out. I believe it was Maurice Lloyd. He lowered the boom on him. Picked up a lot of yards, but let's just show you this hit anyway. Here he comes. He's pulling from that center spot. Watch him come out. Maurice Lloyd, little contact, bow, right there. Ear hole shot on the middle linebacker.
And a Calgary Dino defensive lineman and an Edmonton draft choice, Tim O'Neill, taking over at center. Second and long. Reynolds sheds the tackle of Rod Davis, enough for, well, he's going to be short. Came up close, but Rod Davis did hang on long enough.
Yeah, it looked like a similar play to the last one, except for the difference being no Tim O'Neill pulling this time. The offensive line stayed in there and left it one-on-one between Rod Davis and Joffrey Reynolds, and Davis just hung on. Just tripped up Reynolds. Looked like he was going to get that first down.
So the field goal unit comes on. Rob Maver was out early at halftime to try and recalibrate. Maver has now missed 6 of his last 10. He's 1 for 3 tonight. After a brilliant start. Says he's better when the pressure's on. The pressure's starting to mount, and there's a late flag here as Maver kicks the field goal. And let's see if this will give Calgary a fresh set of downs.
I was going to say, this is against Edmonton. It may.
Major foul. Roughing the kicker. Edmonton number 19. Fifth, half the distance to the goal. First down.
Lawrence Gordon, so Maver feels good about the kick, but they take 3 off the board and we'll look for more.
Well, it looked like Lawrence Gordon here was going to the ground. It looked like he was trying to avoid him.
So it gives Calgary a first and goal at the Edmonton 8. Reynolds dropped at the 6-yard line as Petway makes the tackle.
But those are the type of plays, Chris, and again, I don't want to put it on Lawrence Gordon, who's had a pretty good season on a team that struggled. But those are the type of plays that when you are on a team that's struggling, those are the type of plays that happen. You know, he didn't look like he was trying to go after Maver. He just went down, tried to avoid him, but did make contact. And when you're struggling, that's what happens to you, and it continues to compound for Edmonton.
Penalties have been a problem. Over 101 yards per game on the year, 87 so far tonight. Second and goal from the 6. 6 receivers out. Burris throwing, touchdown. Nick Lewis into the end zone. 6th touchdown of the year for Nick Lewis.
Looked to me like Henry Burris had his choice here. He could have run this football in, or he could have did what he did, which was throw it to Nick Lewis. You see he's got a running lane, and when he takes off like that, that makes Randy Drew hesitate for a second. Not sure if he should come up and tackle Henry Burris, who has 2 rushing touchdowns, or stay back in coverage.
Now a pair of touchdown passes, 223 on the year. Maver adds the extra point, and the Stamps expand the lead.
Hey, I hope Alito beat Lake Travis. Hey, I hope my brother didn't win tonight. Hey, Friday Night Football in Texas, baby. That's just what we do. That's what we do, baby. That's what we do, baby.
A good football team is going to take advantage of mistakes, and the mistake by Lawrence Gordon on the special teams turns a field goal into a touchdown, and that's really a pretty simple crossing route for Nick Lewis here, as he gets that inside position on Randy Drew. And when Henry Burris breaks through the middle and is outside of containment, boy, that puts you in a bind if you're a defensive back or linebacker in coverage. You're not sure if you come up to tackle him, he throws it. If you stay back, he runs it.
I was like you. I thought when he stepped up there, here comes number 3. He'll run another one in. But it does find Lewis, 4th catch of the night.
The comeback tour.
We had a quiet first half for 82, but he's tough to keep quiet for very long.
Woo.
Maver kicks it off, and Tristan Jackson. And Malik Jackson there to bring him down at the 36-yard line.
Well, every Friday night we want to say a special hello and troop salute to our Canadian men and women in the Canadian Forces. So meet Sergeant John Martin, 5 Platoon Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, Royal Canadian Regiment, CFB Petawawa, Ontario. And here he's patrolling the Panchway district of Kandahar, known as the birthplace of the Taliban. Right now, roughly 2,800 Canadian Forces personnel are currently deployed to the Afghanistan mission.
There's the newcomer, Brad Lester. Big hole for Lester. And a flash from the newcomer up to midfield.
There you go. There's a look at Brad Lester's quickness as he's going to take a pretty simple running play to the left side of the formation. Gets a kick-out block by Jeremy Parquet. Working on Charleston Hughes. Brandon Browner saves an even bigger gain with a good open field tackle, but some quickness there from Brad Lester.
20-yard run. Remember, the Eskimos had 5 yards rushing on Monday. Ricky Ray is swinging out now. Kelly Campbell out of the backfield breaks a tackle, and Campbell's got a first down to the Calgary 38.
Been pretty quiet. We mentioned that Kelly Campbell took over the lead for the Edmonton Eskimos with Fred Stamps out of the lineup. Stamps was leading, and until the Labor Day Monday game, Kelly Campbell just passed him after Labor Day Monday. He's mentioned his ankle. He's been not practicing due to a tender ankle.
Well, they need points. Yep. They need some offense, and they've got to keep the defense off the field. They've had the ball for just over 10 minutes as we are in the final minute of this third quarter. And trying to use the Kelly Campbell speed, this time limited to 4.
Well, those are also plays, too, Chris, that if Calgary blitzes again, it's a quick throw, high percentage throw, and it gets Kelly Campbell in space, and it gets the ball out of Ricky Ray's hands. So, you know, Kevin Strasser, just because of the pressure he's facing from the Calgary defense and Chris Jones' squad, he's got to go to different plays to try and get the ball out of his quarterback's hands because his quarterback keeps getting hit.
2nd and 6. Short drop. There's a completion. And another first down. Andre Talbot, who has been underutilized since joining the Eskimos, has a first down catch here on the final play of the third quarter. Third quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons, proud sponsor of the CFL.
Well, a drive for the Edmonton Eskimos right now, but look at the numbers for the Calgary Stampeders. Just remarkable. 29 first downs. I mean, they're on pace to pass or have over 600 net yards of offense in this game, and time of possession just off the charts. So Calgary rolling offensively.
Are they on their way to their third consecutive 50-plus point game against Edmonton, or are the Eskimos going to be able to stoke some kind of a comeback here with this drive, which looks like one of their best of the second half?
Yeah, well, certainly they're going to have to try and finish this drive. I mean, this is a team that seems to find ways to shoot themselves in the foot when they get into situations like this, but crucial here to finish this one.
I don't think we've seen 484 in total yards for 3 quarters by any team this year. 1st and 10 into the hands of Calvin McCarty and into the arms of Charleston Hughes.
Yeah, this defense, when you look at their third quarter production, and it's important because Chris Jones, the defensive coordinator, that's when you go in at halftime, you make your adjustments, you figure out what the offense is trying to accomplish, you come back in that third quarter. The Calgary Stampeders in third quarters this year coming into this game had only allowed 18 points in 9 games. 2 points per game in 9. They did not give up a point in the third quarter against the Edmonton Eskimos here tonight.
2nd and 11. Ray has time. He's going deep into the end zone and knocked down by Brandon Browner. Pass intended for the newcomer, Marco Mitchell.
Well, they certainly haven't been trying to avoid the all-star corner, and Brandon Browner coming off a couple of interceptions. And they're going right after him again. They got behind him when he slipped once. But timing there, and he doesn't get his left hand involved, so he avoids any type of pass interference possibility.
So Prefontaine, who ignited Commonwealth with a 57-yarder to end the first half from 36 yards out. And he puts that through. And it's a 15-point Stampeder lead. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by the 2011 GMC Sierra Heavy Duty. Never send a truck to do a Sierra's job. $35-20 in the Alberta capital for the visiting Stampeders. Trying to sweep the three-game set from the Eskimos in 2010. And enjoying the lead is short carry. Joffrey Reynolds, the all-time Calgary leading rusher.
Really chipped away at it, got it in that first half. A nice little pitch out. But Joffrey Reynolds over 100 yards rushing on the evening, and that's when everyone in Edmonton, including the Edmonton defense, knew the record that was on the line. There's the run that put him past Kelvin Anderson, and yet they still couldn't stop him. It's one thing to want to run the ball, but when everyone knows you're going to run it and you can still have success, it means you have a good football team.
Bears dumps it off underneath. And John Cornish close to a first down. Joffrey Reynolds is now 109 yards away from moving up another notch in the all-time CFL list. Dave Thalen is 9th. Reynolds joined the top 10 on Monday, and he's got the former Ottawa Rough Rider running back from the 60s in his sights.
By the way, that 30th 100-yard game, also a Calgary Stampeder record.
Yep. The fourth time he's done it against Edmonton. Actually, Edmonton, one of the tougher teams against Reynolds. Only Montreal stingier against Joffrey. Quarterback drawn. How did Burris get away from that? Boy, he is elusive. And he scrambles into Edmonton territory with another first down.
This is a zone read right into side right here, and he's going to, at that point, decide whether or not he's going to give it to John Cornish up the middle, or he's going to take it to the outside. He watches the reaction of the defense playing Cornish, and then he scoots right through the hole. Watch how Burris makes the perfect decision, steps up inside, and off he goes.
17-yard run. He's rushed for a pair of touchdowns. Back into the hands of Cornish. And some pads popping there as Cornish crashes for 2 down to the 45.
Daryl Romero has played a solid game. I mean, it's not been Romero that's been the issue for the Edmonton Eskimos this year. And he was the guy who put the hit on John Cornish there. You know, that's when you're down and you're having a tough season. That's what coaches look for. Who still battles even though you're behind, even though it's been a tough year? Who's still battling? Daryl Romero still battling.
Now the next GM here is going to be glad they've got number 94. Second and long, and a lot of time. Now the throw is complete to Murphy, and he'll be stopped short of the first down. Drilled down at the 39-yard line by Chris Thompson, a couple yards short of the first. So Rob Maver's going to get another test.
John Huffnagel thought about that one. It's a long two. He took a look, and Rob Maver took a second to come out. But they're actually going to punt the football here and put Bert Dales and punt it into the corner. And maybe John Huffnagel lost a little confidence in his kicker.
That's caused some confusion as they don't have the right complement on. I think somebody expected the field goal unit to be on and came out late. Unless they got something on, and that's possible. Bert Dale's looking for the corner. And he will drive this one well into the end zone. So the kid is struggling, and the head coach elects not to give him another shot from outside 40. Wendy's CFL on TSN. Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the Canadian Football League. Rona, doing it right. In Edmonton with still over 10 minutes to go, a 36-20 lead for the Stampeders. And Brad Lester at running back, straight ahead, close to the 40.
#1 team defensively against the run, just giving up 77 yards a game coming in. I mean, look at the categories. First of all, the most important one being points allowed. That's talked about their third quarter, just 18 in 9 games. In now 10 games in the third quarter, just 18 points. But when you're leading in all of those categories, you're probably got a very good record. And certainly the Calgary Stampeders, the best record in the CFL.
Second and 6. 2 backs stay in the block, and the completion to Barnes. Jason Barnes has had a quiet night. That is his first catch, and it's close to a first down. Look like he'll be a few chain links short on the spot. You mentioned Chris Jones. In 2.5 years now, 45 games, his defense has allowed 20 points or under 20 times. They're 20-0 in those games, and they've allowed 20 tonight. Can they put the brakes on any further Eskimo scoring?
He's quite vocal on that sideline. A lot of coordinators will like to go up in the booth, and he likes to be down there right in on the field and able to look into the players' eyes and keep control of it. You can tell he's pretty intense on that sideline.
3rd and inches. Sabransky in. And a plunge behind the right guard, Patrick Kabongo. We talked to head coach John Hufnagel about his defensive coordinator.
Yeah, Chris Jones has done an excellent job, and the entire defensive staff. But obviously, Chris is the brains behind this style of defense that we're playing. It's a very aggressive defense. Our team right now is built on speed. We have a lot of versatility within the positions of our athletes, and Chris is doing an excellent job of moving them around and making them do on normal things.
Pass for Kelly Campbell, who got bumped, and no flag. The fans will respond to that as Campbell looks around, and nothing on the carpet as Brandon Smith was in coverage.
You know, there was contact, and I think it was just prior to the ball arriving, but Brandon Smith looked like he was up and playing the ball. You get a good look at it here. Brandon Smith is going to come over from his deep coverage there, runs right into him just before the ball arrives. You know, when you consider that first pass interference call early in the game on Ron Williams, there was more contact on that play and no flag. I think Kelly Campbell had an argument there.
Instead, it's 2nd and 10. Brandon Smith, who had the pair of interceptions, defensive player of the week from Labor Day Monday. Ray stands in, fires. He's got a completion. Forward progress just short, it looks like, of the first down. Again, within with the length of a football, as Andrew Nowacki has his first catch of the night.
First for a while. I mean, he came in with just 9 catches in 9 games, and Andrew Nowacki just sort of a forgotten man in the offense. He's going to get a pretty good spot here. They're going to take a look and measure it.
And again, it looks like it's going to be a 3rd down gamble for the Eskimos. This one just a little bit longer than the last one. Richie Hall really no option here.
What he does have to watch, though, is the clock, and the clock being his enemy as much as Calgary right now. I mean, they've got to get up over the ball quickly, get in and out of the huddle.
And again, Zabransky comes in. Check out, Ray stays in, plunging ahead, and decent push behind Aaron Fiacconi, the center.
There's a flag down.
Flag.
So, yeah.
Just to finish the thought on the Chris Jones defense, the ultimate compliment from John Hufnagel is he said he wouldn't want to play him, the old quarterback.
Offside. Calgary, number 75, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Well, Chris, when you're talking about this coming offseason, no matter who wins the Grey Cup championship this year, teams will be, I'm sure, if they're looking for a head coach, calling the Calgary Stampeders to see if they can talk to Chris Jones. I mean, there's possibly the next head coach in the CFL.
So first down on the offside call. Ray was hit, and it's picked off. Brandon Smith has his third in 2 games. He fumbled, and Dwight Anderson picks it up, and he'll run it out, but 4 interceptions on Monday. That's the first of the night, the 14th of the year for the Stamps.
Pressure coming on Ricky Ray on the interception. It's a delayed rush from Brandon Isaac. They're going to have 2 guys on the line of scrimmage, one being the backup safety Eric Fraser, and then the catch is made, secured, and then fumbled. You see number 30 coming through free. That's Brandon Isaac, the delayed blitz.
So Brandon Smith, who had his first 2 CFL interceptions Monday, adds another. I mentioned 14 for the year for the Stampeders because last year in the entire season they only had 13. Here we are, game 10. They surpassed that, and look for Nick Lewis and a terrific catch. Pretty good coverage, but Lewis brings it down against Chris Thompson.
You know, Chris Thompson wasn't fooled on the play. They tried to go to that fake hitch to Kenyon Rambo on the sideline. You've seen this hitch in this game tonight a couple of times by Henry Burris. There's the pump fake, got our cameraman for a second, and then goes up over the top. Now, Chris Thompson wasn't fooled, but Nick Lewis just won the battle for the football, catching it at its high point.
And Henry Burris over 400 yards passing for the first time this season. Back to Reynolds. And Adam Braidwood comes back to bring Reynolds to the turf at the 35. 6 more.
And just that time of possession, Chris, it just continues to mount for Calgary. I mean, sooner or later, your defense is going to get worn down. There's no question about it. Dave Dickinson calling the plays for Henry Burris has him staying out on the field. They came into this game leading the league in time of possession. They dominated that category tonight.
2nd and 5. Underneath Dion Murphy, and he's brought down. Good sure tackle that time by the safety Jason Nugent to prevent a Calgary first down.
Well, let's see what John Hufnagel does here now. He'd be looking at around a 46, 47-yard field goal.
Well, he's got 3rd and 2 at the 33. It'd be a 40-yarder for Maver.
It would be 40 where they place the ball now. So they're going to give Maver a shot at 40, but didn't want to give him that shot at 46. Now, his long coming into the game tonight was 45. Right now, what Rob Maver needs is some confidence in his kicker. Something has got John Hufnagel riled.
Well, that's the 2nd straight kicking play for the Stamps where they didn't have the right personnel out automatically. Mike Labinjo comes in late here as Maver puts it up, and he's missed again. 3 misses for Rob Maver tonight. Tristan Jackson. There is a flag, and this will negate a big return for Tristan Jackson. As Malik Jackson's taken down. And the fans on their feet, but it's coming back. That's what Tristan Jackson can bring to the party. First appearance. However, there is a flag in the Edmonton end zone.
Yeah, and it looked like a clip in the back. And I believe it's Maurice Lloyd.
And probably why John Hufnagel didn't want to try the 46-yarder on the last series.
It's a very simple rule of thumb, and we've seen the Edmonton Eskimos do this a couple of times. They did it on Labor Day. They've done it tonight a couple of times, and another bad decision by Maurice Lloyd. When you're trying to block on a return, whether it be a punt return, field goal return, anything like that, and you see the name tag of the player in front of you, you cannot hit him.
Illegal block. Edmonton 47. During the run back, the foul occurred while the ball was in goal. Calgary elected to have the penalty applied from the 10-yard line. Will be first down Edmonton at the 5.
So half the distance back from the 10-yard line.
It's all about decisions that you make on the field, and we'll just freeze it. Hold it there, guys. So you see the name tag right at the point of attack. You just have to pull up from that hit. That's just a poor decision by Maurice Lloyd, and it takes a major off the board.
Especially when Tristan Jackson's probably going to beat the left tackle, Ben Archibald, out of the end zone.
Yeah.
So they start deep, and Ricky Ray with the strike to Jason Barnes. Up across the 30 to the 33-yard line. 28-yard pickup to Barnes, second catch of the game.
Gonna have to try and find a guy that they can rely on in key situations like this, and maybe it will be as this season continues. Jason Barnes. Pretty good coverage there by Calgary. Just reached out, got in behind that deep linebacker drop.
Boy, they could use footsteps, though, couldn't they?
Oh, yeah.
First and 10. There's Kelly Campbell. He's got a first down grab. And out at the Calgary bench. 5 catches for Campbell. And he'll be marked out at the 47. Clock running with 3.5 minutes now remaining.
Kelly Campbell limps his way back to the huddle. Limped off the field on Labor Day.
These Eskimos have been outscored 109-31 in the fourth quarter this season. Trying to mount a late charge. Ray can't find anybody now, trying to dump it off, and incomplete, broken up again by Keon Raymond, defending against Andre Talbot.
Well, if Kelly Campbell can't run, then he needs to get out. And the bottom line being, you take a look and you tell me if he can run past anybody running like that. I mean, it just basically takes one target out of the game for Ricky Ray, and he tried to force one over the middle because of it.
Second and 10. Talbot and Barnes in motion. Ray steps up, hit again, and intended for Campbell, and out of his reach. Brandon Smith there in coverage once again as they give the 3-minute warning here at Commonwealth. Time now for the game story, brought to you by Mr. Lube.
Joffrey Reynolds has become the all-time leading rusher in Calgary Stampeder history. 100-yard game, his 30th as a Stamp. Henry Burris, a big night, 404, his best in 2010. Better effort from the Edmonton Eskimos.
Ray changing the play call here, 3rd and 10. Trying to extend the Eskimos' night. Pressure on, looking deep. Wants Campbell, and it's picked off. Intercepted, another 2-interception game for Brandon Smith.
And another hit on Ricky Ray as he delivered that ball. He got hit hard. He was trying to buy some time to see if Kelly Campbell could get open deep down the field at the top end of the route, and as he comes out here in the full roll, he's going to step up into the hole, which is what you want from the quarterback. Watch the hit he takes. I believe it was Mike Labinjo. And Ricky Ray needs his receiver and Kelly Campbell to fight back to that football a little bit. That's a hard hit on the quarterback.
And he's had plenty of those. Good story in the Calgary paper this week about Brandon Smith sheepishly telling some kids at a clinic that he still didn't have any interceptions in the CFL when asked how many he had. And he can go back there now and tell the kids, I got 4. Back-to-back two-pick games for number 28, who missed all of the 09 season after an ACL injury in the preseason.
You remember Labor Day, Kelly Campbell dropped sure catch into Brandon Smith's hands. He took it for a touchdown. Now Campbell was limping a couple of plays ago, not showing much of it there. And Ricky Ray needs to have his receiver come back and fight a little bit for that football.
Burris hands it off. Big Joffrey Reynolds chucks for another first down up to the 44-yard line. And it's started out as the Joffrey Reynolds storyline, and often in the fourth quarter with the lead, it finishes up with number 21 getting most of the attention.
He's well over 100 now. And we'll be able to add to those totals. 136 on the night so far.
Back in his hands. And Pollard brought down. Let's check the TSN turning point tonight.
Halftime, Noel Prefontaine had just made a big field goal to go in at halftime, and then Henry Burris in the third quarter in his first series. Great play selection, got Joffrey Reynolds going, well-executed running game, and he punches it in, coming right out at halftime in his second rushing touchdown. That drive was the turning point of this game.
TSN Turning Point brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. That was a two-point game at the half. Edmonton looked like they had some momentum, and Stamps offense took it right back. Starting the third quarter, and now Dan Comiskey, is that Dario Romero in there battling with somebody heated up?
It started, I believe, something with Rob Cote, the fullback. Looked like he had lost his helmet. I'm not sure who removed Cote's helmet.
Edmonton.
Eskimos stop the clock, 67 seconds remaining. Final meeting of the regular season between these two teams. And we get set up for a big game next Friday that I know a lot of Saskatchewan Roughrider and Calgary Stampeder fans have had circled on the calendar. Calgary at Mosaic next Friday.
Next two games for the Stamps against the Riders are in Mosaic Stadium. September 17th, so next Friday, and October 17th.
But this rule continues. It'll be the best start, well, matching the best start in the history of the franchise, as they'll move to 9-1 as they were back in '96. Kristen Jackson will be brought down as Eric Fraser makes the tackle.
Well, it's been a frustrating season for everyone involved with the Eskimo organization, as even the mascot, Hunter,
not usually getting consoled by Calgary fans.
Yeah, and we're going to show you his bio. I didn't realize that Hunter was an import from the place where they make in Ohio, the Wilson footballs.
Nanook evens up the ratio.
Yes, he does. He is a Canadian. 15 PSI.
Jared Zabransky in, a catch for Barnes. Malik Jackson there in the final minute.
What happens with the head coach of this Edmonton Eskimo team in Richie Hall? I mean, there's some speculation in the newspapers this week that win or lose, they might make a change there after this game.
And you heard Dave Naylor prior to the game as Zabransky scrambles and Juwan Simpson will take him down. Another big night for number 12, the middle linebacker. But the feeling around Edmonton was that the lopsided loss on Monday will accelerate the process to get the new general manager in. And
what
a lot of
happens
changes
there?
are going to be made here in Edmonton
Well,
because this is a scene
yeah.
that hasn't been seen since the 60s.
And a lot of people saying if they're going to make a move at the head coach spot anyway, then some saying they may just make it after this game.
Jawan Simpson off the edge on 3rd down, and Simpson disrupts another play, and it's a turnover on downs.
And you just saw Patrick Kabongo hustle over there to Jared Zabransky, because there was talk with Calvin Armstrong being released after Labor Day that some of these offensive linemen weren't protecting their quarterback well enough even after the fact and picking them up. The head coach and the coaching staff here in Edmonton suggesting that it wasn't that one incident from Calvin Armstrong, but Calvin Armstrong is now a Toronto Argonaut and will likely play in the game versus the BC Lions. And you saw Patrick Kabongo not want to get caught there. He ran over to help Jared Zabransky up.
Stampeders will run their record to 9-1. They're 6-0 against the West. An impressive 4-1 on the road, and they're getting set to go to Mosaic Stadium next week. Of course, the Rough Riders still have some business this weekend.
Yes, the rematch for them against Winnipeg.
Calgary #1.
And the Stamps just want to run the clock out. And
you look at this Calgary team, though, Chris. I think Matt Dunnigan, during the week after Labor Day, talked about it when they were handing out game balls on SportsCenter and said that maybe the only weakness he could find in this Calgary team was a young kicker in Rob Maver. That may be true. And other than that, they are solid across the board with great depth and great talent.
the only question again tonight, they allow 1 field goal in the second half.
No points in the 3rd quarter.
And in the last 2.5 seasons, it's the 21st time they've held the opponents to 20 or less. 36-20 as John Hufnagel's Calgary Stampeders complete the sweep of their provincial rivals from Edmonton. The Eskimos were a better football team tonight, but still outclassed. Too much horsepower and too much Joffrey Reynolds again. Over 400 yards passing for Burris. Over 100 yards rushing for Joffrey Reynolds. 36-20 the final as we say so long from Commonwealth. SportsCenter is now